Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. For you guys, it's Saturday, January the 20th. For me, it's Sunday, January the 14th, I think. I was supposed to do this first thing this morning. I normally do it sort of really early, sort of 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I've got all day to sort of cobble it together and upload it to YouTube. It just wasn't happening this morning. There were so many false starts. Everything was going wrong. After about an hour of trying to do it, eventually I gave up and thought, you know what, fuck this, I'll do it later on. So it's actually about 8 o'clock in the evening. Forgive me if I start to nod off. What I do in the evening, the mug, I take 2 of these, just helps me to sleep, and I wash them down with one of these. So it's a bit like taking horse tranquilizers. Within about an hour, I can barely keep my eyes open. So if I do start to nod off, somebody just give me a nudge and just give us a poke. Oh God. Like I say, it wasn't happening this morning, so I thought I'd give it another try now and see how we go. I've already had 3 false starts, so it's not boding well, but we'll see how we go. Where to start? Just bear with me. I've got some notes here. Here we go. I was not overly happy with last week's, by the way. The one that you would have watched, I think it would have been yesterday. It was another one. It was another basic example of this morning. I just didn't think it went well at all. You guys didn't seem to notice. You said it was okay, but to me it just didn't feel right. So I'm hoping this one feels a little bit better. I'm going to be doing it in segments because I've got a couple of half days booked for this week off work, so I can do half an hour now, maybe another half an hour straight after, and then I've got a couple of half days to do any bits that I've missed. So it should be quite a longish one if I work it right. But we'll see how we go. Let's see now. Comments on last week's video or the last video as such. I'll start with that. Jason P. Due to internet outage, I've still not watched this. I had the same thing, Jace, last night. I don't know what it was. I could not get the internet to work. It was just, it just wasn't happening. I was trying to surf a couple of different sites while I was watching TV last night, and nothing seemed to be working, so I get that completely. But as I say, I'm doing a couple more segments later in the week, so if you make any comments, I will sort of catch them and pop them on, so you won't miss out. Normally I've got a great big long list of things from yourself to read out, but I've also got some other bits from you that I've sort of collected throughout the week, so I've got stuff to fall back on if you don't get a chance to watch it or to comment. So don't worry too much about that. Jason K. The cop show I remember growing up with is Homicide, Life on the Street, well serious cop show. Before that, Chips. I used to love Chips. 21 Jump Street. I worked with a couple of guys that used to love that show. Was Johnny Depp in that, or was he in the movie version? I can't remember. Sledgehammer, remember that one. Miami Vice, I remember it, but I didn't watch it. Homicide, Life on the Street. I've not heard of that one. Or have I in the distant past? I don't know. So yeah, it's good to see which ones you're remembering on that. Obviously my memories are of things like Starsky and Hutch, Columbo, Charlie's Angels, the Rockford Files. That came up this week on one of the posts. I used to love the Rockford Files. Trigger warnings. We were talking about trigger warnings last week to do with the Bond films and the BFI, and me basically saying that it's a complete load of bollocks. And you completely agree with me. Trigger warnings are absolute bollocks and pandering to the woke crowd for fear of offending their delicate sensibilities. Unfortunately, and while they are not the majority, they are the vocal minority, and that's what the higher ups listen to. Woke knobheads is right. I think that's how I described them. I've gone on record so many times as basically saying that I do not approve of any of this. It's just complete and utter crap. Let's see. Would love to read that book on the making of Phantasm. Might have something to show you a little bit later on. The Exorcist Believer. You better believe it works, but you better believe it. Not starting it again. Not starting it again. Exorcist Believer. You better believe it works best as a beer coaster. I might have something else to show you a bit later on as well concerning that. That movie hurt. It had promise and started well, but that last act was pure trash. Another great vid, Tony. Thanks, Jace. Much appreciated, mate. I've loved your Phantasm 2 review, by the way. I'm really looking forward to catching up with these movies. The only one I've seen is the original from '79, which I saw at Burton Odeon when it first came out and loved. Didn't get it, but loved it. And also your Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers review. You've really made me want to watch that one. I think you had mixed feelings about it. I've heard of it. It's one of those titles that sort of resonated down the decades, and I thought I must catch up with that one. Another one that I remember hearing about and always meant to have a look at was one called Dead Hooker in a Trunk. So maybe a double bill with Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, possibly. And Chris Hukin, we need to see that Phantasm sphere thing that you've got. You put a picture on, but I would love to see what that looks like. I have been looking at it on Amazon. I think there are a couple on there for about 80 quid, but they're second hand. And I'm a little bit nervous of ordering them with them being damaged or whatever. But I would love to see what that looks like. So if you get a minute, just do a little video on the Phantasm Sphere set, because I would love to see that. Let's see. He said, God, these notes are bloody crap this week. I will remember. I've had this in my collection for a while. Oh, this is about the Sphere box set. Chris, you said, I've had this in my collection for a while now and never watched one. I will have to remedy that. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy them. Well, you'll definitely enjoy the first one, I'm sure of it. As for the sequels, I don't know because I've never seen any of them, but I'd be very curious to know what you make of them if you do get round to watching them. Jason, you replied to that. I really wanted the Sphere, but happy with the Arrow box set. I've been looking at that Arrow box set, and I might have something to show you on that one a bit later on as well. So, Steve Mack, we were talking about Lars von Trier movies last week, and you mentioned one that I didn't recognise, and you said, yeah, I did mean Melancholia. I think you called it something else. I can't remember what it was now. Sorry, brain freeze there. You don't have to tell me. I'm brain freeze every 5 minutes nowadays. I don't know what it is. I write notes down, but sometimes I think I won't put that bit down because I'll remember that. And then all of a sudden I come to talk about it. It's like, well, what was that on about? I'm terrible nowadays. I think it's getting worse. Somebody else mentioned that later on. I think that's coming up in a bit. Congratulations, by the way, on 500 subscribers. Very well deserved, my friend. You really do have the most amazing channel there. And while we're all talking about sort of Hollywood blockbusters and the big movies, it is always nice to be grounded every now and then by independent cinema and smaller films that don't get enough recognition. You've got a review coming out, I think it's already on there, on a movie called Lone Star, which I've never heard of, but really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it. So yeah, congratulations and well done, mate. Onwards and upwards with that one. Well chuffed with that. Let's see. Also, there was a great film on Netflix called Society of the Snow. The story of the survivors in the Andes plane crash, a true tale of human endurance, directed by J.A. Buyana, director of The Orphanage. I keep looking at this one. Somebody mentioned this at work to me a few days ago, and I said, yeah, I know the one you mean. It's called Alive. From about 1993, and she kind of agreed with me because she didn't know any better. But I realised when I got home, I thought this is a completely different movie. But I believe it's based on the same story. I did see Alive when it first came out. This was Ethan Hawke, and as I say, I think it was basically the same story but dramatised. And that was grim viewing. That was really, really grim. I watched it the once and I had no desire to ever watch it again. But it was really, really well done. The plane crash at the beginning was absolutely horrendous. I think it's possibly the worst plane crash scene I think I've ever seen. Um, but I will be taking a look at Society of the Snow at some point. I'm assuming it's a documentary or a docudrama, but I've been assured by yourself and by a couple of colleagues at work that it is absolutely worth watching, so I will be taking a look at that. Mark, nothing wrong with this video, mate. Kept me entertained for nearly an hour at work on Saturday overtime. This is how I do it. I catch up on everybody's videos on a Saturday morning while I'm cleaning the canteen, cleaning the toilets, all that sort of thing. I've got my little earbuds in, dead to the world, and I'm listening to sort of the latest episode of Higgis, obviously Steve Mack's latest videos, Dave Oliver's videos. They're brilliant because I don't actually have to watch them. I can listen to them and get all the information I need from that. And as I've said before, I carry around with me a little notepad like that, and every now and then I will pull the notepad out and I'll have to make a note, and I come home usually with a list about this long of different things that I can talk about that people have brought up on the videos. So I do completely get that, and I'm glad that I kept you entertained for an hour, because it certainly wasn't very entertaining to actually do last week. It didn't feel right, but if you say it was okay, that's fine by me. Was it me, or did there seem to be a lot more I can't remember than usual? Are you losing it, mate? What do you mean, am I losing it? I lost it years ago. What it is, basically, and I'm not being serious here, not serious. I had a small stroke about 6 years ago. I got over it pretty quick, actually, in about sort of 8 weeks. Didn't affect my speech. To be fair, it did affect the memory just a little bit. To be fair, my memory was pretty crap before that happened, but I do have sort of issues with names. That's why I have to write everything down. If I don't write something down, I can't remember it. And if somebody asks me to do something, especially at work, I do it literally straight away, even though they say, no, you do it later, there's no rush. No, I'm going to do it now, because if I don't do it now, I'll forget. So I'm very much a do it now kind of person nowadays. And if somebody tells me something, I'll usually say, just remind me later, because I will forget. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of losing it. But it's not something I take seriously. I can laugh at it like I can laugh at anything else. I don't take it seriously. It's just one of them funny little things that I do. As I say, most days, in fact pretty much every day, I'll walk past somebody that I've worked with for many years, and it'll be like, all right, and that's what I'm going to be remembered for when I actually leave there. Is, you remember Tony? No. Oh, you remember Tony? Morning. Oh, yeah. So it happens every day. I'm just used to it now. But am I losing it? Absolutely, I am. So thanks for that, Mark. Lee Barber. Salem's Lot scared the crap out of me in the 80s. It scared the crap out of everybody of a certain age. I think I'd have been probably about 16 when I saw it. You'd have been younger than me. And it was terrifying stuff. As I say, it was a TV movie. In TV movies, we're usually sort of fairly safe and cosy. You didn't have to worry. If you saw something was a TV movie, you knew you were in safe hands. And then all of a sudden, Salem's Lot came along, obviously not realising it was directed by Toby Hooper, who made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre not 4 years earlier. So, yeah, it's not surprising it turned out the way it did, but it is still scary as hell now. That scene with the kid floating outside the window, just scraping on the window pane. Oh my God. Eerie, creepy as hell. So, yeah, I totally get that. Scum. Did I mention Scum last week? A delightful film. Not. It's not very nice, is it? It was powerful as hell when it first came out, sort of 1979. I do remember seeing it at, again, Burton Odeon. I think it was on a double bill with Quadrophenia, which was out the same year. I think they both had separate theatrical releases, and then they unleashed the pair of them on a double bill upon an unsuspecting public. And I think that's where I saw both of them. Quadrophenia, I absolutely adored. Scum, really, really good, but left a terrible, terrible taste afterwards. Um, and I suspect it still does now. I've got the Blu-ray. I think it's the Indicator Blu-ray with all the extras on it. And I've also got a DVD version which includes the movie version and the original band TV version of it. Um, and I'm guessing it is still as powerful and nasty now as it was, what, 45 years ago. I do need to take that one in again, but yeah, it is not a delightful film at all, and it's not what you would call light entertainment. So thanks for that, Lee. Chris, great to hear from you, mate. So This Is England is going on my list then. You won't regret it, honestly. This Is England. It took me, as usual, it took me ages to catch up with it. The movie was absolutely brilliant, and then somebody said, "You do realise there's 3 series that go with it?" And no, I didn't know. So I grabbed those on Blu-ray. And as I said last week, the series is just as good as the movie, and that's, if I was doing a bin it or keep it on both of those, they would absolutely be keep it's. Or keepers. So yeah, you won't regret that one, mate. You will love them. Powerful as hell. Home Alone 2 is still waiting on a 4K release. However, I know that Disney have upscaled it digitally, but I didn't get round to it last year. Shocking, I know. It is indeed shocking, Chris. You should be ashamed of yourself. I think Lee mentioned this last week, that Home Alone 2, the upscaling was pretty bad. So it's beginning to sound like you're not missing much, but I get the feeling it is going to turn up on 4K. I thought it was going to do it sort of before Christmas this year, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to see it this year, close to Christmas. So you can let us know on that, because I'm fairly sure that's going to be on your pre-order list. Talking of bad transfers, the whole internet is hating on James Cameron's Aliens and True Lies. I've been looking at some reviews on these on YouTube, and I actually think they look great. Yes, there's been some digital noise reduction which can make actors look a bit waxy in some shots, but the clarity of the image looks amazing. Pre-orders are in for me. I was talking to my colleague Dave Lowe, my technical advisor, last week at work about this very subject. We were talking about the 3 titles coming out in, I think it's March or April. You've got True Lies, you did have The Abyss, and you've got Aliens. Now, I believe it is James Cameron that has withdrawn The Abyss. Reason being, the BBFC, the British Board of Film Classification, have insisted that they cut a certain scene in the movie, which has always been cut out of it. I don't think it's ever been available in this country in a completely uncut form, and it's to do with the rat. And the BBFC absolutely will not back down on anything that looks close to animal cruelty. So it's not the BBFC that have said it can't come out. They've said it can come out, but only with this particular scene taken out. It's James Cameron that has withdrawn it. He's basically chucked his toys out the pram and said, no, you're not going to show it complete, you're not having it at all. So fuck it. So I think most people are going to be are going to be ordering that one from the US, which obviously I can't do because I haven't got a multi-region player. I think they've had similar issues with True Lies, to do with the portrayal of terrorists. God, does it really matter nowadays? Honestly, maybe it does matter nowadays even more, I don't know. So I think the only one that's getting away unscathed with this, in this James Cameron triple, is Aliens, which I'm going to wait and see basically what the transfer is like. If Cameron has got anything to do with it, I'm guessing it's going to be stunning. But I also know, Chris, I think you've pre-ordered all these, so you can let us know what the score is with those. But that's what I've heard about The Abyss. It's not the BBFC that have got a problem with it. They've got a problem with one particular scene. It's it's basically Cameron that spat his dummy out. So that's what's happened with that, as far as I know. Also, Titanic was watched the other week. I'll do a quick review soon. I've only ever seen it once. I really, really enjoyed it. It's just a really long film, but well, that shouldn't stop me. Actually, definitely not. Especially some of the movies I've watched over the years. Um, but yeah, I will take another look at that just to see how it holds up nowadays. Let's see. Trimming members made me chuckle hearing that. Yeah, I can imagine. It does sound a bit odd when you put it like that. Where are we? Oh, I purchased The Warriors on eBay. It is available in Amazon US, but I wanted the limited original poster artwork version, so I paid 58 quid. That's the price I've heard most of, and I believe it was on eBay, and I think it was also on Amazon. I don't know. Amazon US, the greener version box is about £52 after import fees. I'm always a bit nervous of these import fees. You never quite know how much they're going to be charging you for this. Let's see, Warriors 4K review coming soon too then. I look forward to that. I really do look forward to that one. I love the Warriors, always love the Warriors. Thank you for the vid, sir. Great start to my day. You are more than welcome, Chris, and thanks ever so much for the comments, dude. I really appreciate it. You've got a couple of vids that I need to catch up on. Let's see, including a new Marvel Us video, which I think is The Incredible Hulk, and a couple of 4K movies that you've acquired that you're going to be talking about. So the good thing about doing it this week in 3 different sections, I can catch up on all these bits and pieces and include them later, rather than carrying them over to next week. So I look forward to watching those, and I shall give you my thoughts when I've had a good look. Guy, great vid, mate. I don't think you struggled at all. I fucking did. It just didn't feel right. And I know you think, oh God, he always says that. It didn't, honestly. It didn't feel right to me. So, Starsky and Hutch, brilliance all round, and my favourite US TV cop show as well. It never gets boring. I just love 70s TV, and especially cop shows. I used to love Columbo. Do you remember Macmillan and Wife with Rock Hudson and I can't remember the bird's name now. Woman's name, sorry. Sexist twat. There were loads. McLeod, Dennis Weaver. I think they used to call them mystery movies. And I'm sure they were screened on a Tuesday around about 7:30. I do remember them. Well, most of them. Let's see. First Post was lovely to see again, and Quadrophenia remains a solid gold classic. It never gets boring, and it never seems to age. The one thing I remember most about Quadrophenia was obviously the riot scenes, but also the amount of swearing in it. I don't think we'd ever had a movie with that much swearing in it. It was just every other word. But that's what made it so special and so unique, and also the soundtrack was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, that's another one I need to take in again soon. I haven't seen it for quite a while. You never watched Terrorhawks? Well, if you aged out of Anderson, then fair dues. It's worth a watch, as I think you'd enjoy it. It's all on ITVX. I am going to take a look at it. It's one of the few Gerry Anderson movies, series that I didn't actually get into. There was another one called Space Precinct. Now, I don't know whether that was Gerry Anderson or somebody else, but a post went up about that one a few hours ago. So I meant to have a look at that just to see whether that's actually a Gerry Anderson one. That's another one, in that case, that I need to catch up on. But Terrorhawks, it always looked good to me. I just never seemed to get round to watching it. Oh, God. Where are we? Reacher, brilliant show, and I think you'd actually enjoy it. Go on, dare you. Why are you daring me? Is it violent or something? It looks, I'm guessing is it like John Wick? I always put it in the same bracket as that, even though I know absolutely nothing about it. I mean, if you say it's good, I'll take a look at it, but if you're saying dare you, alarm bells are ringing already. Laverne and Shirley, unfortunately, didn't make it into the top 50. That's a shame. You even apologise, sorry. I just love the theme tune to it. Absolutely love it. It's one of those that if ever I bump into it on YouTube, it always lifts my spirits. I love it, absolutely love it. Sandy and I binged Mr. Bates versus the Post Office as well. Brilliant, powerful stuff. Loved it. That's it for this week. Cheers, mate. Thanks, Guy, for all of that. Mr. Bates, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office was absolutely superb. One of the best dramas. I don't normally binge watch series as a rule. I don't know why. I can always usually wait for the following day to catch the next one, and the plan was to watch one Saturday night, one Sunday, and then a couple sort of later in the week. But it was one of those where we got to the last episode. I think it was about 10:30. I was dead on my feet, but he just said, "Do you want to watch the last one?" And I says, "We can't bloody well leave it here now, can we? You know, got to find out how it all finishes." So we watched the whole lot, and that's the first time I've been binge watched a 4-hour series in a long, long time. Although I'm heading the same way with Fool Me Once, which is the latest Harlan Coben thriller on Netflix. I've had so many positive reactions to this, and I was talking to James, our security guard at work, the other day about this one, and I believe he binge watched this one in a day. And he's basically told me you will never in a million years guess the twist at the end. This Harlan Coben guy is absolutely amazing at writing these things. Where does he get his ideas from? We're sitting there watching it, and it's like every time you think you getting close to realising what's cracking off, it veers off in another direction, and there's something else dropped in, and it's like, oh God, where did that come from? So I love it because Joanna Lumley's in it. I love Joanna Lumley, absolutely adore her. So she's making it worth it. But the programme itself is just absolutely superb. We are now 4 episodes in. We binge watched 3 last night, which again is a rare one. Watched another one earlier on. I think we're going to watch another one after I finish this, and then we've got 3 to watch. So whether we're going to do all 3 sort of tomorrow night, I don't know. It depends what time we actually start, because I'm such an old lady nowadays. I have to be in bed by sort of 7:30 because I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, there's nobody better at writing these things than Harlan Coben, and long may he reign. I look forward to the next one, even though we haven't finished this one yet. Let's see, coming up to 27 minutes, so I'll take a little break and I'll be back in just a second. And we're back. Right, first thing I'm going to do is lose the mug for a very, very good reason. Last week I was basically drinking one of these sleepy tea things, washing down 2 night olds, watching the TV. Next thing I knew, all I heard was Tony, Tony, and what I'd done was basically just let the cup go like that. The whole thing went all over me because I fell asleep. So I'm going to lose the mug. I'll finish the drink for that very reason. So right, where were we? Mark, you're watching Oppenheimer. Let's see how long I last. You put your video that you put on, which I absolutely loved. By the way, you should really do more of those. Pretty much told me everything that I needed to know. You said it bored me more in 20 minutes than an 8.5 hour shift at work. Fuck's sake, really? That bad? Jason P, you replied to it. I wouldn't give it the time of day. The trailer bored me. Oh, this is one of the most popular films of the years, guys. What are you doing? Mark replied, and I went to work at 5:30 this morning and did 4 hours overtime, and I'd rather do that overtime again right now than watch the 20 minutes that I watched again. So you've only got 20 minutes into it. Oh dear. Jason P, I think this needs a quick video to warn others, which is exactly what you did. Now, obviously I had it bought for me for Christmas, and I can't wait to take this in. And I get the feeling that I'm going to be one of the people that you were referring to in your videos that is actually going to enjoy it. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this. but I will obviously do a review as soon as I've watched it. But I believe it's 3.5 hours, or it's something like that. It's a long ass film, but so obviously I need a morning or a full evening to take this in. Rob definitely won't watch this. He wouldn't. He'd be pretty much in your mind. He'd pretty much last about 20 minutes and say, I'll go in the other room. You can finish it off. So I will be taking a look at it, but I get the feeling our opinions are going to differ on this, but we'll see. The more we go on with that one. Now then, let's. Oh, you also watched Napoleon. If you didn't like Oppenheimer, I'd be very curious to know what you made of Napoleon. This is another one that I'm looking forward to taking a look at. It's also tipping me towards subscribing to Apple TV. There are basically 3 channels now that I would like to subscribe to, and then after that I am done. And they are Apple TV, Mubi, which is all independent cinema, on a similar footing to the BFI player, and also Curzon Cinema, which is also independent cinema. I do love these kinds of movies, and I do. And as I said earlier, in amongst all the blockbusters and the explosions and the car chases and the murder and the death, it's nice to watch something every now and then that is just different, something different from what Hollywood normally throws at us. And that's why I probably will end up subscribing to Apple, Mubi and Curzon. But Apple, most definitely, because I do want to watch Napoleon, unless it's going to come out on a really good Blu-ray transfer or a 4K, I will almost certainly be subscribing to Apple at some point. I just need to find out what else is on it, and how much it is. Mubi is actually quite expensive. I think it's £12. But if you listen to Kermode and Mayo's Take, their podcast, I believe you get a month free if you enter a certain code. They're always advertising that, so I might take advantage of that one. But yeah, looking forward to hearing what your thoughts were on Napoleon. Very much so. Chris, your Marvel Us Sundays. I'm loving them. Your Iron Man review, yeah, really, really good. I'd actually got as far as that one. I think I got as far as Thor. So I have seen Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 and really, really enjoyed them. My favourite, as everybody pretty much knows, is The Incredible Hulk. And you've just done a video on that, which I'm going to be taking in at some point this week and commenting on when I do the last part of this video, which will either be tomorrow or possibly Thursday. Yeah, it's The Incredible Hulk was one. It's universally thought of as possibly one of the worst Marvel movies. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was actually my favourite at the time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you're thinking of that one. You also put a post on about the revamping of Bullseye with Paddy McGuinness. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Bullseye, but it was a big part of Sunday afternoons, Sunday tea time with Jim Bowen. And again, it's one of these things that I can't imagine anybody else doing it. I'm not a massive fan of Paddy McGuinness. I've not seen Phoenix Nights or that one where he went on a road trip or something. So not a massive fan. Whenever he's on, I don't tend to avoid it, but I will quickly change channel because I think this guy's got nothing to say that I like, or I'm going to enjoy. So I don't know, maybe, possibly. We'll see how we go with that one. But yeah, definitely enjoying your Marvel reviews, mate. Dave Taylor, morning Dave. He sent me a message. I'll read this out. Just bear with me while I just find it on my phone. Here we go. He's into jigsaws at the moment, and I'm not talking the Saw movies. I'm talking proper jigsaws. And I used to love doing them years and years ago. And I've actually found a couple of movie-related ones on Amazon. But I believe there are actual sites out there that specialise in jigsaws. I used to find them very, very therapeutic years ago. I could just sit there for hours. I used to do the outside first, and then sort of work inwards. But I used to love doing them. And the thought of actually doing a movie-related one, I'm really, really up for that. So you kind of turned me on to that one, Dave. And also he sent me a message, bear with me just a second. Oh, he sent me a picture of an usherette, for one. I'd forgotten all about usherettes, the way they used to come out in between the commercials and the movies with the little trays with like ice cream and orange juice and chocolate bars and choc ices and all that sort of thing. Part of the cinema experience. I don't think they exist anymore. I think it's like a concession stand now. That shows how long it is since I've been to a cinema. But this, hi Tony, a trip to the red carpet cinema at Barton Marina last night. I never imagined you would ever go to something like that. I don't know why. A nice setup, holds about 90 people and costs £12 to £13 per person. They have their own bar and cafe, so you can get tea, coffee, pop, beer and nibbles to take in. Movie was One Life. I was not in the best frame of mind, very tired and a cough. Thought the movie was okay. No usherettes. Now you'd have thought they'd have embraced that, being sort of an old style cinema. I'm really pleased that you've been. It's now up to me to take the plunge at some point and visit that place, because it's been on my mind for quite a while, and I've talked about it once or twice on here. It sounds like a lovely place, and it sounds like the kind of place that you don't get the problems that you get with multiplexes, which is obviously people on the phones, people talking, stuff like that. This sounds like a place where movie lovers actually gather to watch movies and not talk and sort of prattle and dick about on the phones and stuff like that. So a trip there is a very, very, very big possibility at some point. It will have to be when I'm off work, because obviously sort of being up at 4 in the morning, I can't really go to an evening showing because of work the next day. Weekends are sort of taken up with other things, so the only time I could really do it is when I'm off work, and possibly a morning showing, which I believe they do. So that is on the cards at some point. I believe you asked me quite a while ago whether I'd do some sort of a little video in there. I don't know how they'd feel about me doing that, but I would love to do something like that. Just me visiting and just a quick views of the place, and a quick video from inside the auditorium, obviously before the film starts, and obviously when there are not too many people in there, because even the sight of people on their phones tends to annoy people. It annoys me. Yeah, very, very likely. So you may just have sort of encouraged me to take the plunge with that one, Dave. So nice to hear from you anyway, mate. It's always nice to hear from you. Right, Jason P. As we speak, you've not commented on the video that I posted before, but as you said, your internet was out. So if you do post anything or any comments sort of over the next couple of days or so, I will be doing a final sort of segment to this later in the week, so I can include it on that. But you've had some other things going on, so you've kept me busy, as you usually do. I'm loving the Never Seen It thread, absolutely loving it. You are coming up with movies that I would never in a million years thought you'd have watched. Sparrows Can't Sing, which was Barbara Windsor's movie debut. It's one that I've always managed not to avoid, but I've always sort of never seen it. I mean, it's always on Talking Pictures TV, but I always seem to miss it. But I can get hold of a copy, so I will be having a look at that. It's the kind of thing I do love, but it's definitely not the kind of thing I thought you'd have loved, so you quite surprised me with that. And with the next one, In the Heat of the Night, from 1967 with Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. It's supposed to be brilliant, and it's been on iPlayer no end of times, and I keep looking at it and thinking, I really need to watch this, because every time I read the synopsis and the plot, I think that sounds amazing, gotta take that in. The plot is basically, and I've copied and pasted what you put, a black Philadelphia police detective is mistakenly suspected of a local murder while passing through a racially hostile Mississippi town. And after being cleared, is reluctantly asked by the police chief to investigate the case. Again, sounds like a movie that I would love. you put, I thought this was okay. I watched it all the way through too, so it must have kept kept me entertained. There are two sequels to this, which I'll watch if they come on terrestrial TV. They did two. I didn't realise this. I thought it was just the one. But looking it up on Wikipedia, I found there was another one. There was one called They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, which is a line, I believe, from the original movie, which was from 1970. And there was another one called The Organisation from 1971, and he plays Virgil Tibbs in both of these movies. So it is actually a trilogy, and it's a trilogy that I definitely would not mind taking in. And again, not a movie I thought you would have enjoyed, but you've really, really surprised me with that. I'm quite impressed with that, actually. Mark, you put, never heard of it, let alone seen it. That doesn't surprise me. Oh, mind you, I'm one to talk, and Jason replied, I'd heard of it, but obviously never seen it. It may still be on the iPlayer if you're interested, and don't say it's too old as you've watched all those Charles Bronson westerns. Charles Bronson did a lot of movies, and the thread this week on sort of favourite movies, Charles Bronson. I need to get some of the sort of the cop vigilante movies that he did. Murphy's Law, 10 to Midnight. There was another one as well. Death Wish. Obviously, I love the original Death Wish. Death Wish 2 was a vile, horrible film. Really, really well made. Typical Michael winner. And I've not seen 3 to 5, which are another 3 sequels. So I do need to catch up with those. I think Caroline, you commented that you'd never seen it, but that they were your partner's dad's favourite movies, and you put on the end of this, are they violent? And I think Guy commented something along the lines, yes, they are a little bit violent. Death Wish is very, very violent. Death Wish 2 is, I wouldn't call it ultra violent, but it's pretty nasty stuff. The scene with the young girl impaled on a fence has been cut from a lot of releases of this movie. You have to really hunt to find an uncut version of this with that particular scene in it. I'm not a fan of that scene, but if I'm going to watch a movie, I want to watch it uncut. So I have got an uncut version of it on my hard drive, I think. But yeah, the Charles Bronson movies, he's made so many, you don't realise how many he's actually done. I've only really seen his early ones, sort of The Great Escape, that kind of thing. So I do need to catch up with a lot more of his. Let's see, where were we? Oh, Jason K, you were commenting on In the Heat of the Night, and you said, I think I've seen it, but a very long time ago. As I say, I've not yet, but I definitely intend to take a look at that. Steve Mack, you also commented the sequel, They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, as an extra on the Criterion edition. I looked for this, it's region 1. Oh, bugger, I thought I would have loved to have got that with both the original and They Call Me Mr. Tibbs on there as well. What would have made it perfect would have been to have had the organisation on there as well. You put great film. Rod Steiger won an Oscar for his performance, and it won Best Picture, Editing and Sound, as well as Sterling Silliphant for Best Screenplay. That name, Sterling Silliphant, I believe he did the score for the Irwin Allen disaster movie starring Michael Caine, The Swarm. I believe he did the soundtrack for that, which I've got on vinyl somewhere upstairs, and I'm fairly sure that was Sterling Silliphant. So I would imagine his score for In the Heat of the Night is superb. But I did know that it swept the Oscars that year. It did really, really well. So that's another reason that I need to take that one in. Oh, love that list of 35 British films, by the way. Forgotten British movies, Jace, that you put on. I'm going to be adding all of those to the watch list. The only ones I'd actually seen, let's see, I think you put some great British movies that you may have missed. We all know This Is England, Dead Man's Shoes, Cares McVicar, Craze, Scum, and many more. But there's some little known gems out there that may have slipped under your radar, which they have. Most of them had. Steve Matt, you commented, great selection, Jason. Can I add some more? Ratcatcher, Red Road, Weekend, Morven Caller, Shallow Grave, Sweet 16. The only ones I've heard of there are Ratcatcher, Shallow Grave, and Sweet 16. The others I've never heard of, but I will be looking them up. The only ones I'd actually seen on that list, Jace, were The Good Liar, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Helen Mirren and Serena McKellen, two absolute titans of British cinema, acting their socks off. Loved it. I, Daniel Blake. What's the director's name? Ken Loach. Brilliant. Absolutely superb. Sunshine on Leith. The kind of movie I usually hate, but I really, really enjoyed this one. George Mackay. I believe it was based around the songs of the Proclaimers. Absolutely not my kind of film, but I watched it on a recommendation from a colleague at work and thoroughly enjoyed it, to the point where I treated myself to the Blu-ray. And there's only one Jimmy Grimble, which I saw many, many years ago. Really, really enjoyed. Ray Winston was superb in that. So that they're pretty much the only four on that list that I recognise. So the rest are going on my ever-growing watch list. And you put a post on about a Funko Pop that you thought might appeal to me. It may still be on the iPlayer if you're interested, and don't say it's too... Oh. That's a note from earlier on. That shows how much notice I take of these things. That needs scrubbing off. That's a note from earlier on. I think that's to do with... no idea what that's to do with. I'm not starting again. Let's see. A Clockwork Orange Funko Pop. My God. That is one that I probably would have bought. This would have probably only been about £15 when it was first released. Tony, you'd love this on your computer desk. You're absolutely right. I would have loved that on my computer desk. But at that price, you may want to give it a miss. $13,400. Why? Why is it that expensive? Presumably it must be a collector's item, but Christ almighty, nearly $14,000. That must be about what, 11,000, 10,000 pounds? Yeah, that's an expensive one. I don't think I'll be bothering with that one, Jace. You also posted about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes has brought its release date forward by about 2 weeks to the 10th of May. And also we've got Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, that's been moved forward a week as well. And also Godzilla vs. Kong has been moved forward by 2 weeks. I suppose it makes a change from movies being delayed by a few months or even a year. I'm guessing the reason for this is the strikes in Hollywood. I'm guessing there is now a bit of a bottleneck of movies that need to come out and basically need to start making money. So I get the feeling that they're bringing these out as soon as they possibly can, just to start getting some revenue back. But I get the feeling that's probably the reason for that. But Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I would love to watch, definitely the Planet of the Apes, definitely Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Godzilla vs. Kong, possibly after I've taken in the earlier entries in the MonsterVerse, which I said I was going to give a sort of a second chance because I wasn't overly impressed with them the first time round. But we'll see with that one. Chris, you posted Top Gun 3 officially in the works. I only caught up with Top Gun probably about 2 years ago, the original. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Top Gun Maverick, absolutely brilliant. Everything they said about it was true, and it was basically the movie that saved Hollywood after the pandemic. So you put, well, this tickled my testes. Chris, I'm sure they're not spelt Testies. I think it's Testes. I think. You're going to prove me wrong now, aren't you? But that made me smile. Jason, you commented, well, if Maverick or MI8 is anything to go by, it'll get a 2027 release date, but it'll be 2030 before it comes out. Hopefully we're through all that now, and hopefully things will get back on track again. Chris, you replied, as long as Tom can still fly, I can wait. Is there anything that man can't do? I mean, he's throwing himself off cliffs in MI7 or whatever it was. there's just nothing he can't do. He's amazing. And is he in his 60s now? I mean, a Tom Cruise season will be an amazing one to undertake, but he's done so many movies. And I still say one of my favourites, my personal favourites, is Risky Business, which is one of the first ones he ever did. Loved it, absolutely adored it. That was way back in 1983. But that, to me, is one of my favourite Tom Cruise movies, along with A Few Good Men, which was just the ultimate courtroom drama. Absolutely loved it, still do. Jason Kay. Oh, thanks for that, Chris, by the way. Jason Kay. I'm a huge fan of the 1988 remake, and now it's being remade again, The Blob. Loved the original, which was Steve McQueen's acting debut way back in 1958, I think it was. It was one of the sillier sort of 50s sci-fi movies, but it was just amazing. I loved it, absolutely loved it. They did a sequel in the 70s, I think it was called Beware the Blob, starring Larry Hagman, who used to be JR in Dallas. Didn't see it. I've got it somewhere. I keep meaning to have a look at that. And then they did a remake, which I saw at the local cinema, starring Kevin Dillon, I believe Matt Dillon's brother. Absolutely amazing. As Jason said, it was a cracking movie. I've not seen it for a long, long time, but I do remember the special effects being first rate. And as we're always saying, it's practical effects. I don't think CGI was around back then. So it was mostly practical effects, which made it even better. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with a remake or a reboot of The Blob. I would imagine it's going to be brilliant. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing a first trailer for it, which I think is a way off yet. I think they've only just announced sort of the remake or the reboot or whatever, so it's going to be quite a while before we get any kind of a trailer on that one. But yeah, very much looking forward to that one. Big fan of the original movie. Another thing I noticed, we were talking about Charles Bronson earlier on. One of the movies that I put on, or did I put it on? I can't remember. Was The Dirty Dozen. I think a lot of people put that one on as one of the favourite films. Now, The Dirty Dozen is usually screened sort of in the afternoon, and I read the synopsis of it because obviously I've got it here somewhere. Here we are. Just bear with me. That's my copy of The Dirty Dozen, which I got from HMV a few weeks ago. Now, I've always known that movie is a sort of a staple favourite on sort of Saturday afternoons. It's just a classic Saturday, Sunday afternoon war film. And then I read what it's actually based on. The characters, and the reason they're called The Dirty Dozen, they're all criminals. They're all sort of murderers, rapists. It's pretty nasty stuff, and apparently the violence in it is pretty grim. And it drove me to take a look at what certificate it got when it was first released, which would have been about 1967, and it was an X certificate. And reading the back, it didn't really surprise me, but it's made me want to watch this movie even more now to see why. As you can see, it's now been downgraded to a 15. But if they're screening this on a Saturday afternoon, there's got to be a lot sort of cut out of it, surely. I would have thought so. But I would definitely be taking a look at that because I'm very curious to see what made it an X certificate, apart from the subject matter and obviously some of the characters within it. But yeah, it was originally an X certificate movie, so obviously only over 18s could have got in to see that. But I'll be taking a look at that, and I'll let you know at some point why, not only why it was an X certificate, but why it was downgraded to a 15 on Blu-ray, and it's being screened on Saturday afternoon, which they wouldn't normally screen a movie of that type in the afternoon. Normally the movies sort of on the afternoon are either heavily cut or they are just PG or U or A certificate as they used to be, not 18s or X's. Very, very rare. So yeah, I'll let you know I'm fine with that. Right, I'm going to take another quick break and I'll be back with a third section. We could go on for quite a while with this one. So take care. I'll be back again in a few seconds. And we're back. Only for a few seconds, I'm afraid. I've just had a phone call while I've been away from you, and I'm afraid real life has crept into our online existence again. So I'm going to have to disappear on you. I had loads of stuff that I needed to get said today, and some stuff that I wanted to show you. I'm going to carry it all over till next week, so next week should be a real good one. Thanks ever so much for bearing with me. I hope you've enjoyed the video that I have actually done. If you have, please like, subscribe, share and all that sort of thing, and I'll be back with you with loads of new stuff and all of the stuff that I've not managed to get sorted today next week. So thanks again for joining me, folks, and I will talk to you all again ever so soon. Take care, everybody. Take care. Ta-da.